Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Almost Game Day. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. Wow, what a couple of crazy days. Yeah, the NFL, Dodgers win the World Series. There's so much to talk about, but first, we are going to introduce a new segment on the show called Sincerely Sean. There's been a couple things over the past couple days that have really grinded my gears, and I felt the best way to get it off my chest is to talk to the camera and talk to you guys about the things in sports that just aren't sitting right with me. So we have two Sincerely Sean's that we're going to do today. The first one we're doing is to the Patriots. So, dear New England Patriots, you probably don't know who I am, but I'm Sean Green. I've been watching you my entire life. And the good thing about your team is it seems like every single year, regardless of the talent that you have, you play good fundamental football and you know your identity. You know exactly who you are and what you're going to bring every single week. I've been watching you the past couple of weeks, and it seems like there is no identity to this team. It's frustrating to watch the Patriots. I never thought I would say that. It is so frustrating to sit down and watch a Patriots game. Let's go through the rundown, shall we? You got Cam Newton up top. Now, granted, Tom Brady had the same weapons as Cam Newton. We were all talking after the Seahawks game like, oh my gosh, Cam Newton is this big-time player, which he is, former league MVP. But we had Patriots fans saying, sign this man to a 5-year extension. Get him signed. And I was like, hold on. He's playing good. But we need to wait and see how this is going to work out now. We've got so many more weeks. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Cam Newton is going to be bad for the rest of the season. But it's starting to look like his timing is off with the receivers. There are some times, if you go back and look at the tape, a lot of people say, listen, the Patriots don't have as many skill players as, say a Seattle or a Kansas City. And you look at the Patriots' skill players, you got Jacoby Myers, undrafted rookie free agent last year. You got Damiere Byrd, who on any other team is a 4th string or 5th string wide receiver. You look at Gunnar Olszewski, another guy, punt returner. Those are the Patriots' weapons. Now we find out Julian Edelman had a knee procedure done, so clearly there's been something wrong with him. He hasn't been getting as many targets. Clearly there was something wrong, so he got a minor knee procedure done. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. N'Keal Harry got knocked out in the last game. He's out with a concussion. We don't know how long he's out. So your top 3 receivers are Damiere Byrd, Gunnar Olszewski, and Jacoby Myers. So it's not all on Cam. But if you go back to last week, in the wretched performance against the San Francisco 49ers, number one, you're playing your former quarterback, the guy you literally saw play for 4 years, and he lit your defense up. The run game, all you needed to do was cover the corners, cover the end zones. Because, listen, those running backs were not going into the gut. They were taking it to the outside. But the defensive adjustments were not made. The 49ers did everything they wanted on that defense. But Cam Newton, his mechanics are off. You could see the way he's planting his foot, planting his feet to throw to the receivers. They're not centered to his receiver. You could see the way he's throwing the ball. He's not confident. The O-line played actually pretty well last week. It was mostly a healthy O-line. But Cam looks like he's getting rattled in the pocket really easily. And for the Patriots, that is not a good sign. Because I think the Patriots realize now that Jarrett Stidham is not the future. There was talks over the weeks of the offseason where Jarrett Stidham was going to be the starter, and it was the Patriots love Jarrett Stidham. They think he's great. They are more than okay with going into the season with Jarrett Stidham as the starter. And now I've seen this guy play a bunch of snaps, and I don't see it. He does not make the right throw. He's going to make an interception. He does not protect the football. Jarrett Stidham's not the answer. And if Cam Newton does not pick it up, the Patriots are in trouble. They're 2-4. You'll see in my touchdown picks how I see this game against the Bills, but the Patriots need to do something. they need to make a trade at the trade deadline. If they are not buyers at the trade deadline, then I don't know what they're doing. With Bill Belichick as your coach, I don't know how you can tank, right? Bill Belichick isn't getting any younger. His coaching days, he doesn't have so many more years left to coach. I don't understand. Like, this team is not bad. They are playing bad, but they're not bad. They went to the end against a Seattle team. They beat a good Vegas Raiders team. They beat a solid Miami Dolphins team. But the last 3-4 weeks, they have just looked completely terrible on offense, defense, special teams. I wouldn't say all defense, because the defense has held them in there for a couple of those games. Kansas City really held them in there. Denver held them to only field goals. So when you look down the list of the games the defense has played, last week's performance, that's because the offense was getting off the field so quick. When you put your defense out there for 40 out of the 60 minutes, your defense is going to struggle. So I think there's a couple options here that I think the Patriots need to pounce on, and I think everybody's talking about the same players. You got in Houston, they're wanting to clean house. I don't care that they just paid Deshaun Watson. They are looking to get rid of these receivers. I say you make an offer for Will Fuller. Kid is a young receiver, talented, has had injury problems, but he's that receiver that can go get you the long balls, can do the inside routes. That is a versatile receiver. Then you can look around the board. Do you go get an AJ Green? That's a possibility. I don't think the Patriots are going to do it because he has an $18 million cap hit with a franchise tag, right? Third option, Marvin Jones from Detroit. Marvin Jones is a solid receiver. He can get you those touchdowns in the end zone. He can pick up the yards. Only problem that I just don't see the Patriots doing is he's on a loaner. He's on a 1-year contract. He is gone after next year. And now if the Patriots want to pay him, which I assume whatever receiver they get, they're hoping to pay some money to stay. Because the Patriots, as we both know, they're not good at drafting wide receivers. And that's just a fact. N'Keal Harry has not turned out. Patriots fans have been waiting for this kid to make leaps, make the bounds. And again, I see Patriots fans saying, give it time. Please just give it time. He's going to be good. But you start growing impatient when guys that were picked after him are now number 1 wide receivers on their team. A.J. Brown is the number 1 receiver on the Tennessee Titans. And he was a big-time Patriots fan. But they didn't draft him. They said, we want N'Keal Harry because he can do everything. Now we're looking at it, and we're like, maybe not the right pick. DK Metcalf, another one. Everybody saw how he looked, and he fell. He fell big into the second round. Why wouldn't you pick up him? N'Keal Harry, I think, is just not the answer. I think they know that, but what are they going to do? What can they get out of N'Keal Harry? A 6th-rounder? I don't think they can get much out of him. So there's options at wide receiver that they can go and do. The big-name wide receivers, I think Odell, he was an option before the ACL. Julio, it seems like they don't want to trade him. I would give a call to the New Orleans Saints. Clearly, there is something on with Michael Thomas. There is something up there. I don't care what Sean Payton tweets. There is something up with Michael Thomas that needs to be addressed. I think the Patriots give him a call. Pass rush-wise, the Patriots need some pass rushers. They're getting pressure, but Chase Winovich, probably, in my opinion, second, third best defensive player on that roster right now. He's only playing 14 snaps because of the defense they're playing. We need pass rushers that can play all types of defense. I think Houston might want to get J.J. Watt off the books. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think you got to make a call to Houston. Be like, listen, Romeo Crennel, now interim head coach of Houston. We need a receiver. We need a pass rush. What do you want for Fuller, J.J. Watt? Give up Gilmore and give up a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I would take that for those 2 players. Now, if New Orleans says, hey, we are open to trading Michael Thomas, that's a top 3 wide receiver in this league. You offer Gilmore and a 2nd for Michael Thomas. Because, granted, you need a wide receiver like that. If you can get a Michael Thomas, your season is in good hands because you can move the ball with a guy like that on offense. So I don't know, Patriots. You need to do something, and if you don't, you are telling the NFL and you're telling your fans that you are tanking for this season and you are just waiting for next season to get draft picks, signing people in free agency, and doing all that. But that is not a good look, and it is not a good time to be tanking. You got the Buffalo Bills that are acting like they are the kings of the AFC after not winning it for years. So, we'll see what happens this weekend. Sincerely, Sean. All right, let's go into my next Sincerely, Sean, which is the MLB. Preferably, the Dodgers and Justin Turner. Congratulations to the Dodgers on winning the World Series. They were very impressive. Obviously, the Rays made a bad pitching change, taking out Blake Snell. We're not going to get into that. I'm not getting into that aspect of the World Series. So, big talk of the town. Right after, in the sixth inning, it seems like Justin Turner gets pulled. Nobody knows if it's an injury. Nobody knows what it is. They just know he is not playing in the game anymore. Gets announced he had a positive COVID test, and they took him right out of the game. Okay. Number one, the explanation by the MLB makes absolutely no sense. You need to have tested him way before the game was supposed to start, right? They tested him way too late because I guess the analysis was that he got an inconclusive test in the second. So a test came back in the second inning after the game was already being played as inconclusive. Retested it, came back positive in the sixth inning, pulled him. At that point, it doesn't even matter. But whatever, right? So, Dodgers are out there celebrating. They win the World Series. All great, all good. And all of a sudden, we see Justin Turner on the field celebrating with his team without a mask on, kissing his wife around a bunch of the players' wives, a bunch of the others of his other players, and I cringed. I'm like, so I see a bunch of people saying it's not Justin Turner's fault, it's the MLB, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely not. First of all, he knew what he did was wrong because he tweeted after the game, it sucks that I couldn't be out there with my guys to celebrate. When he was out there with his guys celebrating. He was out on the field. This is the MLB statement. In response to inquiries, Major League Baseball issued the following statement today regarding the circumstances involving Los Angeles Dodgers third baseman Justin Turner. Immediately upon receiving notice from the laboratory of a positive test, protocols were triggered, leading to the removal of Justin Turner from last night's game. Turner was placed into isolation for the safety of those around him. However, following the Dodgers' victory, it is clear that Turner chose to disregard the agreed-upon joint protocols and the instructions he was given regarding the safety and protection of others. While a desire to celebrate is understandable, Turner's decision to leave isolation and enter the field was wrong and put everyone he came in contact with at risk. When MLB security raised the matter of being on the field with Turner, he emphatically refused to comply. The Commissioner's Office is beginning a full investigation into this matter and will consult with the Players Association within the parameters of the Joint 2020 Operations Manual. Last night, nasal swabs were conducted on the Dodgers traveling party. Both the Rays and Dodgers were tested again today, and their travel back to their home cities will be determined after being approved by the appropriate authorities. It's absolutely absurd. I don't know how this happened. I don't know who let this happen. But this gives a terrible, terrible look to Rob Manfred, the MLB, and Justin Turner. Justin Turner is going to get fined a lot of money because there are going to be positive tests from this. And if there are not, I will be completely shocked. His wife, for one, probably has it. And I see a lot of MLB fans saying, well, they're already in that bubble. They're already together. If he had it, they're going to have it. That doesn't matter. The MLB made a bad mistake by not testing early enough before the game. They should have had that figured out because to get the tests back when the game's already being played is unacceptable. The NBA was testing way before the games were supposed to be played. They weren't getting the results back while the game was being played and then pulling players if they got a positive test. Came back inconclusive in the second. It's not Justin Turner's fault. It's not. They chose when to test him. So it's not his fault, right? Then you look and you see MLB pulls him in the 6th. Okay, at that point, he's already in the dugout with all the Dodgers, right? He's already in the dugout. So obviously, he's probably talking in close contact with somebody. Somebody else was going to get it at that point, right? If I'm the MLB, I don't know how to deal with that. You can't stop the game, right? So that's not Justin Turner's fault. What really irks me, right, is I understand you want to celebrate with your teammates. I would too. That would be really disheartening. Justin Turner, lifelong Dodgers fan, wins the World Series, wants to go celebrate with his team. Completely get that. But you can't. You went and got tested positive for COVID-19. By going out and celebrating with the players' wives, the players' children, some that are so young they're babies. It's not right. It's inexcusable. And Justin Turner is going to get punished big time for this. Bad look on the MLB. Bad look on Rob Manfred. How did he go from isolation to the field? Who didn't stop him? Was nobody watching this guy? I'm sorry. It really irks me because something like this could cause a ripple effect for the other people. The MLB fixed the problem, right? You had the Marlins that all tested positive. The Cardinals, they had outbreaks. And for some, the MLB fixed it. They did good for a good month while these, playoffs were going on. And then to end like this, it's just a bad look. It's just a bad look. So, congratulations to the Dodgers. I know it's not a happy-go-lucky segment, but I just thought that was ridiculous. Like, I saw wives and children out on that field. And God forbid Justin Turner goes up to one of those, gives their guys a hug, and they get COVID. It's just very stupid and inconsiderate. But that's my take on it. And sincerely, Sean. There you go. That's the new segment. Those are my rants. Those are my rants. All right. Now that we got that over with, when we come back, my touchdown picks of the week. I'm going to have to talk about some things I don't want to talk about, but we're going to do them. Stay tuned to Almost Game Day.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
All right, welcome back to Almost Game Day. Every week, the reoccurring main segment on my show, touchdown picks of the week. So last week we had Robert Husby, Kyle DeWitt on, and we basically had a whole show designed for the touchdown picks of the week. Last week, I went 9-5. Again, not where I want to be, but we're back on the winning side of things, right? So I did decent. There was a couple games the Seahawks really, gave up. It looked like they were the team that I assumed they were going to be on defense. They gave up a bunch of yards. Kyler Murray showed out. Didn't expect it. I liked what I saw out of the Cardinals, but again, the Cardinals are so hot and cold. I can never tell with the Cardinals what they're going to do the next week. So that was the one game that really got me. I also assumed the Bears were going to cover against the Rams. The Rams played out of their minds. I knew they would win, but I didn't think they would win like that, so congrats to the Rams. And then the Patriots, they went 0-2 for me. I assumed they would have a good week, but this is where we are. So let's get into this week's touchdown picks of the week. Bills Patriots. Guys, I'm officially off the Pats bandwagon when it comes to picking them for games. I've been a Pats fan my entire life, but I don't show bias here. The Patriots are not good. The Bills are the better team. They're the better team in the AFC right now. Julian Edelman now having knee surgery, going to be out for weeks. The Patriots not having the weapons to compete against the Bills is a problem. I do think that Josh Allen won't have a stellar game. If you look at how Josh Allen has played against Bill Belichick, he has not done well. But the Bills are more talented. They have a bunch more weapons. The defense is physical. They're going to be able to get to Cam in the pocket. And I don't think the Pats can fix all of these issues in 1 week. So I'm taking the Bills to win and cover at -3.5. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it'll be a 7 to 14 point game, to be honest with you. Browns Raiders. I was actually shocked about this. The Browns are favored at -2.5. I get the Browns played really well that second half against the Bengals, but they just lost Odell Beckham. You cannot tell me that the Browns are better without Odell. I need to see it. The Raiders, I know they kind of had a bad performance against the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers are one of the best teams in the NFL, and nobody's discounting that. So I'm going to go Raiders win and cover here. Again, I think if anything, this line should be more of like an even. But yeah, I'm going to go Raiders win and cover here at +2.5. I think Derek Carr has a big game against that Browns secondary. Packers Vikings. This game, I had a bunch of people. I was talking to them about my picks, and they said that's a lot of points. 6.5 against the Vikings is a lot. The Vikings aren't the same team. Like, I think we keep assuming that the Vikings are this powerhouse defensively. This offense is great. If anything, the defense has taken a step back. And the offense, besides Kirk Cousins, you have young studs in Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. So, in my opinion, I think when we look at this, the Packers should win by 2 touchdowns. The Packers are the much better team. They're coming off of a great win last week against the Texans. This is a different team. I'm going Packers to win and cover this -6.5. All right, Ravens, Steelers. This game was the hardest for me to pick out of all of these this week because I look at previous games the Steelers have played the Ravens. And honestly, last year, it's very hard because the Ravens didn't play Big Ben. In the week that the Ravens had, it was 26-23 the first time they played last season. And to be completely honest with you, the Steelers had a really great game. Lamar Jackson did not play well. It was a close game. Ravens won in overtime. But then in the second game, Robert Griffin III started. It was in week 17, and they completely blew the doors off the Steelers. So I do not know how to pick this game. But this is how I'm picking it. Ravens are the better team offensively. I think you can look at the Steelers and see that their secondary is not where they want it to be. So I do think the Ravens win, but I do think it's a really close game. Kind of like last week with the Titans in a bit. Like, the Steelers are a really solid team. But I don't think the Steelers have personnel to beat a running team like this. I'm going to go Ravens win, but I say the Steelers cover the +4. This is just to cover my basis. Money line right now would probably be to take the Ravens. But if you're taking the spread, the Steelers +4 are a really interesting matchup because it is not going to be a blowout by any means on both these sides. Seahawks 49ers. This, again, it's like the Seahawks, I know the defense is bad, but I can't help but not pick them. I need to pick the Seahawks. The 49ers impressed in New England, but again, I don't know if you can really, truly take that game and say, oh, the 49ers are back. That division is stacked, and these division games are like playoff games. I think the Seahawks are the better team. If the Seahawks can stop the run, they just got Carlos Dunlap. Hopefully they can get some pressure up front. If they can stop that running game, the 49ers are one-dimensional. So I say Seahawks win and cover at -3. But the 49ers, if they can win this week, I think they're playoff bound. I think they could figure it out. But yeah, I'm going to say right now Seahawks win and cover at -3. I hate that I have to do this game. I much rather would do a totally other game. Saints-Bears. I would have much rather picked this game, but this is the Sunday night game that we have to live through. Eagles-Cowboys. I'm not going to spend much time on it. Eagles win and cover. The Cowboys are terrible. Andy Dalton is not playing. The Cowboys aren't signing any quarterbacks. I don't understand that. They should probably go give Colin Kaepernick a call if they want. That division is wide open. The division is wide open. Why not give Colin a call? The team's terrible. They're giving away pieces. They just got rid of Dontari Poe because of his weight. Eagles -7.5. The Eagles are going to crush the Cowboys. It won't be close. Take the Eagles. Bet the Eagles. Bet the house on the Eagles. Cowboys are not good. And then finally, Bucs-Giants. I was really going to switch my pick before recording because Giants, they have a little bit of a COVID problem. Again, offensive line. Last week, it was the same thing with the Raiders. And I told you, don't even worry about it. Take the Bucs. The Raiders are going to be terrible on the offensive line now. But if we know anything about Tom Brady going to New York, it's always close. It's never a blowout. I don't care what team he's on. There's something about New York, always. So, I do think the Bucs win. But 10.5, for me, way too much. The spread now is, I think, at like 12 or 13. So, I kind of got it I got it at 10.5. That's not good for me. But I do think the Giants will cover that spread. I think Daniel Jones can make some noise against this team. I might be completely off, but I'm going to go Bucs win and Giants cover that 10.5. I think that's a solid spread to place a bet on. All right, guys. That's been another episode 9 of Almost Game Day. If you like the content on Hitting the Field, make sure to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. We really enjoy making the content. It's been such a blast this semester doing all of these shows and getting it out to you. We appreciate all the support. If you want to follow me and Hitting the Field, follow us on Twitter at Hitting the Field and me on Twitter at Sean M.R. Green. We post a lot of our content, notifications to when we post videos, all that stuff on there, so make sure you go to that. All right, guys, tune in next week. We've got, again, another big slate of shows to talk NFL, all this good stuff, so make sure you tune in next week. All right, guys, it has been Almost Game Day, and it is Almost Game Day, guys. Enjoy the games.